Well, God, we say thank you for an hour set aside each month to lean into you and to think about what you told us is that people will know who your followers are by how they treat people. So, God, would you teach us to be those people who are open-handed and open-hearted and open-armed and just trying to be loving to more people all the time. God, I think about the Michael Jordan wingspan poster that my brother had in his bedroom growing up, and just the width of that wingspan. God, push us towards that. Push us towards love in every direction. Thank you for Ginger, what she brings. Thank you that she teaches us how to be a better human. God, would you speak to each one of us individually today? Just give us like little nudges of what we personally need to hear, and not only what we need to hear, but how we might walk that out in our life this week so that we can impact other people for you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I got my mic, that's right. That was a very Christian Buddhist opening, thank you. It's perfect. The breath work is originated from Buddhists, our awareness of it. So welcome. If you are new here, we are spending a month, or an hour each month on a different world religion. This has been such a great journey, and here's where we are. Here's where we've been, and here's where we are, and here's where we're going. As Brooke said, we started this 4 years ago, and I thought we'd run out of things to talk about in 3 years, but we didn't. There was a whole new frontier of compassion conversations around the compassion teachings of all global religions. So that's what we're doing. And today we're talking about Buddhism, which is just such a beautiful faith. But I want to open with an example of a Buddhist practice, because Buddhism is not a religion necessarily. We refer to it as a global religion just because we like to compartmentalize and label things. But really, Buddhism is a teaching of a way of life. It is a set of practices. It is a set of practices to quiet your mind and open your heart for you to be the best Christian, the best Jewish person, the best Muslim. So it's not an either or a competing with. Buddhism is intended to quiet your inner landscape so that you can connect with whatever your divine is. So as we go through this, I think you'll feel the depth of that teaching deeper and deeper in all of the lessons from the Buddha. But let's start with what is called the metta meditation. And it's loving. We refer to it often as a loving kindness prayer. To do this, you're going to bring 4 people to mind, and then I'm going to walk you through it. So I'm going to give you some time to think about it. Somebody you love dearly. And if you're a mother and you feel bad picking one child, pick them all. You can love all your children in one lump for this meditation. So somebody you love dearly. Somebody you don't know, but you've encountered this morning. It might be somebody in this room. It might be somebody at the grocery store or the gas station. It might have been the woman next to you at the intersection. Just bring to mind somebody you saw today that you don't know. And then somebody that you're in a bit of conflict with. There's a little tension between you right now. Bring them to mind. And then the 4th person is yourself. We're going to go within at the end of this prayer. All right, got your people? Okay, now close your eyes. Maybe put your hands open in your lap, or you can extend your hand out as kind of a blessing. We begin with this person or people you love dearly. Imagine them standing right in front of you, and you send them this prayer. May they be safe. May they be healthy. May they feel peace. May they feel loved. And now bring to mind that person you've never met before, but you noticed them this morning. And offer them this blessing. May they be safe. May they be healthy. May they feel peace. May they feel loved. And now that person where we have a little tension right now, may they feel safe. May they be healthy. May they feel peace. May they feel loved. And then look within at your own heart, your own beautiful being, your own spirit. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I feel peace. May I feel loved. And so it is. Let it be so. And then come back into the room. Yeah. Welcome to Buddhism. That's it. How beautiful is that? If you take away one thing today, take away that. And you can put any words to it. You don't have to remember what 4 things Ginger said. You send well-being in whatever language you want to send it in. But that is called the metta prayer. That is the loving kindness prayer. It is the root of Buddhist teachings. How was that experience? What was it like? How do you feel? A little tears? Yeah. Calm. Lighter. Oh, such good words. Yeah. I can feel the peace in the room. It's shifted. It's cool. We were all a little hurried getting in here and getting name tags and getting parked and do I know anyone and where to sit? And look, now it's just love. Yeah, beautiful. So I always like to give you a mental picture of where we are when we're talking about these religions. Remember, all of these religions began as oral traditions. We don't have a lot written at first. We're getting more and more as we move on the timeline of written records. But a lot of these were passed down for hundreds of years in oral traditions. So we're at Buddhism, which is really about 400, 300 BCE, which, remember the dating system used to be AD and BC, and we've gone to a less arrogant Christian calendar where we say before Common Era and after Common Era, or Common Era, sorry, and before Common Era. So we are in the 400, 300 BCs. Buddha lived 400, or 480, you go backwards, 480 to 400 BC. So he was born in around, loosely dating, remember all of this is loosely held, but 480 to 400. But his teachings really kind of took root in the 300s and became organized as what we call today Buddhism. Remember, the life of Moses wasn't recorded until much after Moses' life. The life of Jesus wasn't recorded until after his life. All of these spiritual greats weren't intending to start a religion. Buddha's one of them. Buddha was seeking his own enlightenment. Just to also give you a little context, we're talking about a region of northern India in the Himalayas. Nepal would be the closest kind of landmark we have today. This is where Buddha lived, and this is where Buddhism originated. However, now it's mostly an Asian faith. Just to give you some numbers, Christians make up about 27% of our globe, 2.3 billion people. Islam is 23%, so you could roughly say a fourth Christian, a fourth Islam, 15% Hindu, 6% of the world is Buddhist. Judaism is about 15 million people, which is about 1%, just to kind of give you some context of the faiths that we've been talking about and the size of them. Buddhism is practiced in China, Japan, Thailand, India, Nepal, and growing in the United States, because I think these Eastern peaceful teachings are what we are craving in the U.S. So these practices that I introduce you today are becoming things that we long for. The Dalai Lama called Buddhism a science of the mind. It's really a mindfulness teaching. So there's not a deity, there's not a worship of somebody. It is a way of life. Some famous Buddhists you might recognize: Pema Chodron, Thich Nhat Hanh, Jack Kornfield, John Kabat-Zinn, Sharon Salzberg, Daniel Goleman. Those are all more modern writers we have on the topic of Buddhism that help us understand these beautiful teachings. Many, if you've taken a meditation class, these teachers were probably at the root of that meditation teaching. So in Buddhism, we wouldn't ask, what do you believe in? We would ask, what do you practice? How do you live? Okay. So not what do you believe in, but how do you practice? How do you live? And the intention of these mindfulness practices and prayers is really to connect more deeply with our own heart. And then because we go there first, then we're able to radiate out love and compassion to the world. That's really the intention of meditation, is that you still your own mind, our busy minds, enough to connect back to the love, your pure being, and then you can beam love out to the world. But we all know in our frenzied life, if I'm not taking the time to go within, then suddenly I'm frazzled, I'm snapping at people, I'm not my best self. So Buddhism is start sitting. Start sitting, start meditating, and then you will project the love and be the compassionate person you want to be. So the origin story of Buddha, and I'm going to show you a Buddha statue just to begin this conversation. So the Buddha statue is, I've had people say, like, it makes me uncomfortable. Am I supposed to look at that? And it's not, yes, you're supposed to look at that. You're not doing anything bad or dangerous. There was this movement for a while, one sect of Christianity said yoga is worshiping idols, and those poses are bowing down to idols. That is not true by any means. Buddha is not an idol. Yoga is a practice of stretching so that you can quiet your mind, because we can't just go down into meditation when we're all tense and charged up. So yoga, the practice, is to stretch and move so that you can be still and go within. That's the whole point of Shavasana at the end, which is our favorite part, because that's when you feel the most peaceful, because you just stretched and moved. So the Buddha is intended as a statue to remind us to sit and meditate. The statue of a Buddha did not exist until 500 years after the life of Siddhartha, the first Buddha. It was a way, the first artist that created the first Buddha statue created it as a way for him to remember to sit and meditate. And you will see in Buddha statues, Buddha always has a little smile, a little smirk. It's tiny, but it's a smile. And the intention of that is, in meditation, I find joy. I will smile. That is the place where you find happiness and joy. So next time you look at a Buddha, just notice the little smirk on its face, because it's to remind us there is joy even in the suffering of being human. And in meditation, you find that inner joy and peace. So Siddhartha, who lived 480 to 400 BCE, was a young man who was born into royalty in Nepal. He lived in a castle. He had never really been outside of his own city gates, castle gates. And in his 20s, early 30s, he had an experience where he calls it the 4 sights. He saw 4 things he'd never seen before: an old person, a sick person, a dying person, and a spiritual seeker. So he realized, my wealth has protected me from reality. I haven't seen reality until I went outside of the palace. And he saw the spiritual life of these people who were suffering in their bodies so greatly, but had this sense of peace and calm. And then the spiritual seeker, I'm putting it into my words, he said, I want what you're having. How did you get that? And that spiritual seeker said, by going within. And that really started Siddhartha on his spiritual journey. And so he, as legend has it, sat under the Bodhi tree, and there's differing reports on how long he was there. Some people tell this as if it's Jesus similar to Jesus in the wilderness. So a period of many days alone in introspection, Buddha says that he wrestled with Mara, M-A-R-A, which would be our version of wrestling with Satan. But Mara was discomfort and temptation, and this isn't worth it, and it's not working, and I'm not worthy. Who am I to be a spiritual seeker? I don't have the divine within. I don't have love, right? Everything we do when we're in the wilderness, Buddha was doing under the Bodhi tree, hoping to gain enlightenment. So he sat for many, many days of meditation. He wrestled with this thing he felt within. He called it an inner battlefield. We know that as the inner critic and the wrestling we have with our own egos. And then one day he woke up and he felt like it was all gone. And he said, I am awake. I see reality. And thus the word Buddha was given to him as a title, which means awakened one. So Buddha is a title, not a name. Siddhartha was his name. So he began being known as the awakened one and sharing his teachings. The first thing that came out of that meditative time was the Four Noble Truths. Siddhartha realized that there are four things. Reality is made up of four things. Oops, let me go to a slide on this for you. Buddha liked numbers, so there's lots of numbered lists in Buddhism. But the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the Seven Factors of Awakening, and the Four Immeasurable Minds. I'm going to give you an introduction to all of these today. And then I will say I'm doing a deep dive in all of these religions online at compassionfixcommunity.com. You can join that. We are starting Judaism this Friday, so your timing's great. And all those are there are videos out there. We've done Native American spirituality and Hinduism, and those videos are there for you to watch, so it's not too late to join. But I'm spending 12 hours on each one instead of 1 hour like we do here today. So this is an introduction. But the Four Noble Truths, simply put, are there is suffering. Suffering exists. That's part of being human. We will suffer. Within that first noble truth, there's also a teaching that everything is temporary. So your suffering is temporary, your happiness is temporary. There is a Buddhist teacher that I've taken some classes from that says, everything you're feeling, just tell yourself it will pass. Your happiness, it will pass. Your sadness, it will pass. Your hope, it will pass. And if the more you just realize all of these emotions, I want to hang on to them and keep this one forever if it's a good one, right? And I want the bad ones to go away as quickly as possible and not sit in them. So part of that is learning no emotion is good or bad. They're all here. They're just spending the day with me, maybe the week with me, but it'll pass, it'll lift, it'll go on. So part of his first noble truth is there will be suffering in your life. You will have it. It's also temporary. Everything is temporary. Buddha uses the word impermanence. Everything is temporary. And this is part of what he realized because he'd grown up in an environment where wealth makes everything happen. And wealth, he thought, made you live forever. And then he realizes, oh no, we too are going to die no matter our wealth. And that everything is indeed temporary. So that's the first noble truth. The second one is that we contribute to our suffering. We make our suffering worse. And there's two teachings on this. There's many on this, but two that I want to introduce you to today. The first one is one called the second arrow. And I have written on this before if you get my Tuesday emails, but it really was one that when I first heard it, I realized I was shooting myself with not only second arrows, but 99. So the idea is that the first arrow is what life throws at you, and life will throw arrows at you. We get diagnosis, we get loss, we get betrayed, we get disappointed. We are going to have hardships. That's part of being human. The second arrow is what I do to myself in that hardship. Somehow I created this. Somehow I deserve this. I'm being punished. I didn't do the right thing. I didn't have enough faith. I didn't pray enough. I wasn't there enough for that person. Right? All of those arrows we shoot at ourselves in our pain, that's creating the suffering. So you may have heard me say before, pain is real, suffering is optional. That's coming from Buddhist teachings. That yes, we will have pain. The amount of suffering is actually up to us. And part of the work of meditation and mindfulness is when you are in pain, go there, and you will alleviate your suffering a bit. go to love, compassion, peace within. The other teaching on we create our own suffering is he uses the word thirst a lot. You thirst for things. Your thirst makes you suffer. You want things. I think I'll be happy if I just have that next thing, right? And I'm mad at whoever's stopping me from getting it. Hey, I'm creating suffering there. Buddhism teaches detachment. That's part of the teaching on detachment is don't cling to these things that you think you need so badly. Let it go. Because you're actually creating suffering. Because, as we all know, once I get that shiny object, I'm still not happy. So then I have the suffering of, oh, that wasn't it. So what am I going to go for next? And then we just create this wheel of suffering for ourselves. So we will suffer. It is temporary. Don't exacerbate your own suffering by causing more suffering for yourself. And then the third one is, if we can cause our own suffering, we can alleviate our own suffering. Right? So this was one of his revelations under the Bodhi tree of he noticed all of his emotions and all of his suffering would come in waves. He would have a really, really bad night, a dark night of the soul, and then he would wake up the next morning and feel a little bit better. And so he uses kind of waves as his teaching example of emotions. And he says, wait, if I created my suffering, then I can relieve my suffering by sleep, right? By meditation, by doing things that help me get through the suffering, which it was this radical teaching at the time, because if you remember in Hinduism, we have karma, and I have earned this, and I'm getting punished for this, and I deserve this, and it's beautiful teaching on personal responsibility that we all need to remember too. But this one was also, wait, I can create the good in my life. I can lessen my suffering. So it's personal responsibility, but it's also this empowered spiritual teaching. And then I also think, I'm a neuroscience geek. This totally fits with neuroplasticity, which is the latest in brain research that your brain could be rewired. So Buddha was teaching this in, 2,500 years ago, that everything can start over. Everything can be redone, including your brain. And it just takes practicing mindfulness to do that, and meditation and peace. And then the fourth noble truth is like there's a path. There's a how. There's a way to do this. And this was radical at the time because religion had always said, go do that. Be a good person. Believe in this without the how. And so Buddha comes along and says, I'll tell you the how, because what they're saying is really good, but nobody's telling us how to do it, and we have a really complicated brain. And so we want to be this good person. We want to live like Jesus, Moses, but we're not getting it right. Well, that's because you're not quieting your mind. You're not doing the mental practices. So those are the four noble truths. What's striking you so far? You want to be Buddhist? You can be. I know, this morning when I was getting ready, I was like, could I just call myself a Christian Buddhist? Like, that feels right. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
So
Yeah, Lisa.
an example of this that I saw recently was, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but Oprah had shared a clip of I don't know if it was like a town hall kind of gathering or whatever. She was speaking to parents whose children had been killed in,
I was trying to get you a mic. There it is.
I was gonna have
Brooks got it. Okay.
Okay, so Oprah recently had some kind of gathering with women who have lost children to gun violence at schools and whatnot. And so this woman had said that she had forgiven the person who had killed her. Yeah, he was young. It was grade school. And Oprah was just like in shock, like how and she forgave him very quickly. And she's like, why? Like, everybody was very surprised. She said, well, first she was obviously in deep shock. She had another child who was a little bit older. And so she said she was modeling for this child as well. And another parent of a child who had died in another shooting years ago, she got to hear her speak. And she had spent 20 years in just pain and suffering and anger. And she decided then, she's like, I'm not doing this. This is not the path that I'm going to do. And so she made the deliberate choice that to model, not just for herself, but for her child.
Yes.
That, yes, it's challenging to forgive, but like in order to keep going on, she's not going to suffer.
Beautiful.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. There's a teaching in Buddhism of a man had been released from prison, and the other man says, "Will you ever forgive your captors?" And the freed prisoner says, "No, I'll never forget them." And he said, "Then they still have you captive." Beautiful, Lisa. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path, is really 8 ways to live. And right is our English word for this. The original Sanskrit would have meant a focus, a straight way of living, an aligned way of living. So it's not right or wrong like we use English, but it's more alignment with truth. So right view, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but we'll go deeper in that online class. Seeing clearly means remembering that everything is temporary. Everything will pass. Don't get so upset about things. We say, sometimes, some of us, this too shall pass. But it's really living with that of everything is temporary. And what a mental exercise that is and how beneficial that is. And that clinging is the opposite of that. And then clinging to something, to someone, to an idea, to a belief, that is what creates suffering for us and other people, for ourselves and other people. Right thinking is your intentions. Is your intention kindness? Are you thinking with kindness and compassion? Part of this is goodwill, not ill will. Right? So no retaliatory thoughts, no revenge seeking. I want only goodwill for my enemies. It's hard. It's so hard, like Lisa's story. Right thinking also includes, I will not do harm with my thoughts, words, or actions because I'm creating energy even with my thinking. Right speech is telling the truth, but in the sense of, do my words, my speech, create harm or suffering in this person? If I'm going to create harm with the truth, it's better to leave it unsaid. This is a teaching of Hinduism, Jainism also, in the do no harm, nonviolence. So right speech is listen more than you speak and speak very carefully, very thoughtfully, very mindfully. Use your words. Words have power. Right action. Are my actions coming from a place of love? Is my intention love here? Do I go through the world calm or do I go through the world angry and upset? Livelihood. This is your vocation, your work. Are you working ethically? Are you in an ethical job? Are you contributing to pollution? Are you contributing to taking advantage of somebody? Are you stealing money from somebody? Are you charging too much for your offerings? So very clear outline on no money to be made off of sex, alcohol, substances, anything that would weaken a spirit. If you're in that business, you are not living with right ethics, right livelihood. So your vocation should do no harm. And this is hard because we can start to break these down of like financial institutions and, so many, we live in a capitalist nation. It's all about greed and how much can I get and hoard and my 401k and I have more than you do and I'm going to show it off and opposite of Buddhism. And the teaching of the Buddha is you're creating suffering with all of that. You think all of that is going to make you happy? You are just signing up for disaster. And we could all come up with examples in Johnson County of that pretty quickly. Buddhism would be don't avoid all that so you don't suffer. Take the path of peace. Diligence is work at things, but do things that matter. So right diligence is putting effort into things that matter, not giving my effort into something frivolous or that hurts humanity or doesn't contribute to humanity. So the question there is like, what am I spending my time on? Things that produce love in the world? Perfect. Right mindfulness is aware of this present moment. So the root of Buddhist teachings is be right here, right now. not in the past and not in the future. And part of Buddha's teachings is those places make you angry. If I go back to the past, I'm going to get mad about something, at myself or someone else. And if I go to the future, I'm anxious and worried and feel out of control, and that is not going to be my best self either. So my best self is just right here, right now. Right here, right now. And it's amazing as I prepared for this, just how easy that is to forget. Right? I mean, I'm reading all this stuff and then find myself undone an hour later, and then coming back to it, and then undone, and then coming back to it. And so that's why Buddhism is called a practice, because we will never master it, but we will continually have to come back and practice over and over and over again. Buddha also teaches two important things that really stuck with me. Observe without judgment. So I can observe somebody without judging them. That's really hard, and it's really beautiful to start right now. We are in an incredibly judgy culture and time in humanity, and so the more of us that can just, I see that red coat, I don't have an opinion on it, right? The more you can just play with that, you'll notice all the things we judge. So just start observing, stop the judgment, and then the other tool he offers is just pause. If you just add in a pause, you'll be more mindful. So is what I'm about to say helpful? Is what I'm about to think helpful? Is what I'm about to do helpful? So just the pause is the answer. And then the last one in the Eightfold Path is right concentration. And this is concentrating, focusing, we would use that word, on loving kindness. So what are you concentrating on? Are you concentrating on the bad in the world, or are you concentrating on how I'm an instrument of love? That's right concentration. What's your focus? And then he goes on to teach, this will allow you to be less scattered, less anxious, if you're always coming back to love. Buddha teaches that the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path are the ways to live. The ways to reach spiritual enlightenment are the 7 factors of awakening and the 4 immeasurable minds. I tried to put it all on one slide because I forget to advance slides because I get in the moment. So it's all up there, so we can stay on one. But the bottom 2 boxes are about enlightenment. The top 2 boxes are about daily practices. So the 7 factors of awakening. I'm going to go through these relatively quickly, but these are often depicted with the Bodhi tree as 7 branches of the Bodhi tree. So like the Buddha, I don't want you to worry when you see a Buddha. It's a reminder to sit and meditate. That's what the Buddha is. When you see a Bodhi tree, now you'll know what that means. The Bodhi tree is the tree that Siddhartha sat under, where he received his enlightenment, his awakening. We might call it the tree of knowledge. Sometimes we see a tree like this represented in various faiths. And then the 7 branches of the Bodhi tree represent the 7 stages of awakening, the 7 factors of awakening. So mindfulness, again, this is present moment. And one of the teachings of the Buddha on this one is also to remember love is always present even when I don't see it. Like the sun is always present even when all I can see is clouds. And so part of awakening is to start to live with that beauty in your life, that the sun is always there even though I can't see it. Love and compassion are always there even though I can't see it. Love and compassion are in me even though it doesn't look like that someday, right? This is all coming back to remembering that and being back in the present moment. The investigation of phenomena is there's a beautiful teaching I'm going to share with you on this, but what it means is you are part of the whole. Interconnected unity is one of the foundations of Buddhism. So you are part of the whole. Everything is interconnected. And the story that the Buddha loves parables too. But this one is, the insect said to the bud on the tree, "You are so small." And the bud on the tree said, "I will grow into a leaf. I will be green and orange, and then orange. I will then fall to the ground. In 2 years, I will be part of the soil. I am not small at all. I am as large as the earth." Isn't that a beautiful one? So that is the investigation of phenomena, is that you keep coming back to the phenomenon that you are part of a whole. You are part of the earth. We are all part of the earth. Life force energy is that there is the awakening to the fact that there is a reason we are alive. There is a reason we have life, and we are intended to preserve life of ourselves and others. So the goal would be live as long as you can. Buddha lived till he was 80, which was really rare in life expectancy at the time. And the teachings after him were because he had life force energy. He remembered that living was fun and being alive is good. And this is the thing Buddha held in the balance all the time, is I can still have joy in the midst of my suffering. I can have moments of joy in the midst of my suffering. Ease is letting go of stress. In my book, I call it, how could I make this fun and easy? Instead of heavy and hard. So how can I make unloading the dishwasher fun and easy? And the more that we live in ease, trying to look for ways to let up the stress a bit, let up the tension a bit, we're on the path to a spiritual awakening. Joy comes in the present moment. So give me a time, somebody pop out a memory of when you felt really deep joy recently. Can someone have one? A joyous moment? Sunset. What else?
We were skiing with the family last week.
Yeah.
We were just like on top of the mountains, and looking at the beautiful mountains, and like with my favorite people.
Skiing on the top of a mountain with your favorite people. What else?
Looking in my daughter's eyes.
Looking in your daughter's eyes.
Holding my dog. Like, I'm working I get to work from home this week, and I had missed how he likes to just sit on my lap and like
Yes.
snuggle for like the first hour while I'm working.
Yes.
And it's like,
Look, yes, a dog on my lap. Okay, everything you mentioned, you were in the present moment. You noticed that and you felt that joy because you noticed what was happening right here, right now, in this present moment. You weren't thinking about the past or the future. That's what Buddha taught. Joy is found in the present moment. All those joyful moments. So then, if we want more joy in our life, stay more present. And you'll notice those 4 things that our friends just shared, right? Concentration is this focus on love in the middle of the suffering. Concentrate on kindness, even when it doesn't feel present. Andrea Gibson, a poet I love, wrote, people are sharing it a lot right now, everything you are feeling, call it love. Everything you're feeling, call it love. My anger, it's really love. And if you can flip to where the love is, why am I so angry? Because somebody's being harmed, and I love that person. My grief, call it love. My upset, it's really love somewhere. Everything you're feeling, call it love. That's right, that's concentration. And then equanimity. Equanimity is everyone is equal. Love everyone as if we're all equal.
that's really hard.
That's really hard.
Especially right now.
And this fits with Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And I know, as loving people, it feels like I know all this stuff, but the people that need to hear this aren't in the room today. Or they don't care. But I hang on to the hope that if more people are doing this kind of work, then the collective begins to shift. Buddha taught that you'll reach spiritual enlightenment. And remember, whatever your religion is, you'll connect more deeply with that religion if you're practicing these 7 factors of awakening and the 4 immeasurable minds. The 4 immeasurable minds are love, compassion, joy, equanimity. So equality, love, compassion, joy, equanimity. A quick descriptor of those is love means friendship for all. Compassion is deep concern for suffering and our desire to alleviate it and our willingness to take action. Joy is this present moment, looking for the good in the moment. And equanimity is love without any distinction between me and you. We're all one. We're all the same. One of the first revelations Buddha had under the Bodhi tree was this reality. He called it the reality of original goodness, meaning every human at their core are those 4 things: love, compassion, joy, equanimity. He believes in original goodness. What did some of us grow up in Christianity hearing? The opposite, right? Original sin. You are depraved and full of sin, and you need to fight your whole life to get rid of that. Okay, Buddha said the reality, that's a teaching. Original sin was a human construct, by the way. But Buddha said the teaching of original goodness is every human, even the badly behaving ones, every human has those 4 things at their core. And the purpose of mindfulness and meditation is that you return to that truth. You will see that truth if you sit still and if you notice your breath for a little bit, right? You'll come back to that truth. And if every human would do that, they wouldn't behave badly in the world. This is the opposite of ego, right? This is coming back to realizing your truth. Yeah, what's striking you on any of this? What are you noticing? It's taught in prisons, yeah. I think it is. Yeah. I think there's a lot of meditation, mindfulness, finally, in the U.S. It took a while to get it to the West. But I do think mindfulness and meditation practices are being utilized in prisons, in healthcare, in elementary schools. I think we're starting to see more of this come online, I hope. I hope it continues.
What I see is
Yes.
those monks that are doing
Yes.
the peace walk.
Good, Debbie. Let's get a mic, Debbie. Say that again.
What I see on is the monks that are doing the peace walk in our country. And the droves of us Americans, we're just drawing, we're coming.
Yeah.
But then there's this resistance and friction from what I would say, I guess, the Christians that are saying you're trying to convert them. You got to be saved by Jesus Christ and all this. And there's this lovely calmness and peace that people are yearning for.
Yeah.
But then we as a people are resisting it.
Yeah, right. I know the Buddhists walking are just so beautiful. If you get my Tuesday email, I wrote on it yesterday, and my friend Michelle O'Neill that shared her story is in the back today. So if you want to talk to Michelle afterwards, you can ask her more about that experience. Yeah, Cheryl.
To Debbie's point, there was a short on YouTube, and one of the venerable monk said, what you don't usually see is the hate that's directed to us. And he said, so I have the same response as you did in the metta meditation, which is I wish them happy and health. And I was like, oh
I
my
know.
God.
I wish them well. I wish them well. Yeah, and meant it. That's because they're practicing this stuff. That's because they're living it. We nod to it. They're really embodying it. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to follow along on any social media platform, follow or search for Walk for Peace. Walk for Peace, and you can follow the journey of the monks. 2,300 miles from Fort Worth, Texas, to Washington D.C. And it's a beautiful. There's so many stories. We could spend an hour on that.
Oh, your dog.
They're a loca. Yes. Yeah.
Back to what you said about we as Christians were taught that the Buddha figure
Yeah.
was like wrong to have.
Right.
And I was definitely taught that. And I
Yeah,
was
you
really
were.
trying to search like inside of myself where that came from, what's going on with that.
Yeah.
And that's just so disturbing.
It's just this primal fear in our brain that something that's different that I don't understand is dangerous. That's all. So that's why this kind of stuff is so important, and that you come to these things of we're just expanding our brains to know this stuff isn't dangerous. It's actually love at its root. But just like, I didn't understand until I studied Hinduism that in my favorite Indian restaurant is a figure of Ganesh, the elephant-headed god, and I didn't know what it was, and I would just kind of, okay, I like the food here. But now I speak to Ganesh when I go in because Ganesh is the remover of obstacles. And so now when I go in for my Indian food, I also have a moment with Ganesh, and it's not scary anymore, and I could use all the help I could get, Ganesh. So this is just exposure. It's exposure. And those that are telling you something is dangerous are living in a little tunnel without any exposure. And that's what I love about you guys so much, is you're here with open hearts and minds, and it might not all align with you personally. It doesn't have to. But what you're taking away is noticing the foundation of all of these ancient teachings is love. And if studying these and spending an hour on a Wednesday morning helps me be reminded of love, then I've done something great today. Right? So it's exposure, it's brain. If you were going to go to intensive treatment for OCD, you'd have to go look at the things that scare you, right? And so read a book on the things that scare you, and you're just practicing the neuroscience of exposure therapy. But we're learning. We're all learning. And the things we think are dangerous, it's just our brain trying to protect us. Yeah, beautiful insight. So God lessons, okay, again, there's no deity in Buddhism. So Buddhism is offered to you to supplement your faith. So it doesn't compete with any faith. It is a supplemental, complementary, mindful practice so that I can live into my faith and be the loving person my faith calls me to be. After studying Buddhism, I felt so much of a deeper understanding of the teachings of Jesus, because now Jesus to me is a teacher of love and compassion, and all of the healing stories, all of the parables go back to love and compassion at their root. So if I'm practicing that, and if I'm remembering that within me and every other human being, then I'm likely to be more on a path that Jesus was trying to get us to walk. The interconnected presence is more of what we would seek. If we were seeking something in Buddhism, like we seek the presence of God in Christianity, then the reminder, the presence of love I feel in our interconnectedness would be what I'm seeking. So the way I practice this is, if I'm having a bad day, so let's say a friend hurt my feelings. A friend hurt my feelings. I know this too will pass. This is temporary. I'm going to beam them love, maybe through gritted teeth, but I'm going to beam them love as much as I can. And then I'm going to remember this is a shared human experience. So there is a woman in Paris whose friend just hurt her feelings, and there's a woman in India whose friend just hurt her feelings, and there's a woman in Africa. She's feeling down today too. And I go around the globe real quick, and all of a sudden, it's not all about me anymore, and it's not about my ego. It's about this is a human experience, and it's going to happen. Okay? That's a way to practice that kind of mindfulness. So God is not Buddha, because he lived for 80 years, he got lots of questions in his talks and his teachings. And so when people would say, who created the universe? He would often not need to explain that. Like, the universe is the universe. All that is here. This present moment is what we need to be concerned about. And he never said this, but the Christian mystics teach this of, like, stop overthinking it, people. You're trying so hard to understand God and study God and memorize scriptures and get it right and look publicly like you are a great Christian. You're missing the experience of God over here that's quiet and calm and still and loving. And so that's the spirit of kind of Buddha's take on this stuff, is there is a directly experienceable reality. Those were his words translated into English. A directly experienced reality that you can touch through mindfulness. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, this is the Holy Spirit that Christians talk about. This is the Holy Spirit. That holy presence that you can touch and be part of right now, the kingdom of God is here right now. That's what Buddha was teaching. And then this teaching on God's will I included just because I always try to include what touched me when I'm studying these religions. The idea of God's will, I realized I grew up being taught, and in adulthood was taught that it's my will or God's will, and that these things are kind of battling, and I'm supposed to deny my will and follow God's will. And I always felt like this was a wrestling kind of teaching. In Buddhism, God's will is love, compassion, joy, and equality, those immeasurable minds that you have within you. And so if I'm following those things, then I'm following God's will, and I don't have this battle of the wills. The only thing I have to do is come back to those things, and then I'm aligned with God's will. And so God's will isn't this thing I'm getting wrong or a scorecard or check boxes. Just be love, and that's God's will. It's not that hard. The simplicity in that is really beautiful, I think. Okay. Compassion. Let's go to that. We did the loving kindness meditation, the metta meditation. So in essence, it's wishing somebody else well-being, and you can put your own words to it, but just start doing that. Like, when I started practicing this, it would be at the intersection, or it would be the car going too slow in front of me that I can't pass because I'm running late. And just beam them love. Just start with those little irritations and beam them love, and it is transformative what it does to you and brings you back to this present moment and reminds you of your qualities of love and compassion within. Karuna, we saw this word in Hinduism and Jainism. It means compassion, and compassion is always action in these faiths. Compassion is not, I feel sorry for you. That would be pity. I'm glad it's not me. Well, pity would be, I'm glad it's not me. Sympathy would be, I feel sorry for you. Empathy would be, I deeply feel what you're feeling. And compassion would be all of that plus, I'm going to do something about it. I'm not just going to feel sorry for you. Or thoughts and prayers, I am actually going to pray, right? I'm not just going to say that. I'm actually going to try to alleviate your suffering and show up for you. Mudita is shared joy. I love this one so much. I just think this one needs to be reminded of us often. And that is the true delight of the other person's good fortune. Instead of, she gets everything, right? The true delight of, I'm just so happy for you, because if you're happy, then the world's a little happier, and that makes me a little happier. So that shared joy is something that I think we really have to practice. It's the opposite of ego. And then upekkha is this equality. So you'll see words in Indian and Asian faiths of balance and harmony over and over and over again. And so balance and harmony among all of humanity. Okay. I wanted to have time for your comments and questions. So 2 things to just take with you to put in your pocket to add to your spiritual life. Are these words from Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm going to add books that I've found helpful in my research onto, we have a book list for these talks. The videos from Village are out there, and then all of the books are linked, and Brooke and Kenyon and Kate will be sending that out. But this is one of Thich Nhat Hanh's beautiful, there's so many beautiful prayers he has. But waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment and to look at all beings with eyes of compassion. Simple as that. Add that into your prayer life and see what you notice. And then the metta prayer. And again, these are other phrases, so make them your own. Everyone that does the metta prayer does it with their own words and does it a little bit differently. So may all beings be peaceful, happy, safe, awaken to the light of their true nature. I love that one. I think right now, if you're feeling like, what can I do? That line is great. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature. And I have stories of clients that we've done this work with like an estrangement situation, or, I can't get to my grandkids because somebody's blocking me from them. So all I can do is beam them this kind of stuff and hope that my, daughter-in-law lets me see them. I have many, many stories of transformation from them doing this, that all of a sudden daughter-in-law calls and has a change of heart. So I now, after 10 years of working with people one-on-one, I believe the power of these kinds of things to transform relationships. And so put your own words to that. And then the idea of all of this is you take something with you today that resonated and you use that to deepen your current spiritual lives. With that, what are you taking away today? Yes, Patty.
I feel like this is so beautiful, but it's also so passive compared to, our getting out and demonstrating and
Well, the monks
writing.
are walking. The monks are walking.
That's true too. That's true too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to shift to more gentle than wanting to be like, what is the matter with you?
You know what's interesting to me, though? I mean, there are videos of the monks that have 6 million views. 6 million people are being touched by their peaceful walking, more than we hear one person spouting hate. So this is not passive. Yeah. You don't be passive. You take peaceful action. Yeah. Good, Patty.
That's what I was thinking when
Yeah,
you were
Mindy.
saying, what are you taking from this? Oh, I feel so embarrassed, but is that I felt like everything not everything, but many of the things you said, I felt like we do have agency. We do
Yes.
have the ability to, even if it's quiet, you can still
Right.
beam it out. It doesn't have to be big
Yeah.
to be big.
Exactly, Mindy. I'm so glad you highlighted that because Buddha did use the word, we put it in English as agency, but he did use that kind of, you have a choice in this and your actions matter. So what you just said is so true of what I do, what I emit matters. And so I may not be changing legislation, but my emitting love and 50 of us emitting love matters, and we do have choice in that. And I think that's, as a mental health professional too, I think that's part of our challenge, as we can get really upset and wallow in this. That makes us behave more badly than sitting in love and maybe feeling like, am I making an impact? And trusting that I am by emitting love. That's more likely to make a difference, because if nothing else, I'm kinder to the person that cut me off in traffic, and I can beam love to the TV screen when I see people suffering. But if I am so angry and rageful inside, that is not going to bode well for change. It really doesn't. Martin Luther King, we don't overcome hate with hate. We overcome hate with love. Yeah, Brooke.
I was just going to say there's a quote from Mother Teresa that makes me think of that said, it's something like, if you want to love the whole world, go home and love your family.
Yeah,
So just
exactly.
remembering that it all ripples.
Exactly. Yeah, Peggy.
Hold on, Peggy.
Then Brooke.
I'm getting my steps in. Thank you. I just had an experience which I actually shared with you.
Yes.
I was in Costco. It was freezing cold outside, and I was really in a down mood. And I was walking out, and there was a young lady standing there, freezing cold, and doing that. And I said, well, stay warm. How are you doing? And she said, oh, well, I got to pay the bills. And I kind of validated. I can't remember all that I said to her. Something like, well, absolutely, I hear you, what you're saying. And before I left, she gave me this hug. And I just came over and gave me a hug, and I thought, wow, I mean, I can't tell you the joy. It just changed everything. It was a simple interaction, just validating
You saw
that
her.
she was kind of suffering there. And it gave me more than it gave her.
So
It really
beautiful.
did. It was beautiful.
That's awesome. And that's the way to do it. That's action. That's not passivity. And you made her feel seen, heard, understood, loved. That's beautiful. That's the way to do it.
Kind of going with the theme that you have this morning is my background is in creativity before I retired. So a lot of artists and creative people that I'm following, this year has been a year of they're pulling back. They're going internally in their art and their creativity. They're not on that capitalistic, road. And I believe that, as they always say, the creative, the artist, the visionary is what's going to get us over this hump.
I believe
And
it.
so that calmness, that love that they want to, put in their expression.
Yes.
And art is politics, unfortunately. I mean, I don't think it's unfortunately, but that it's a way to bring the message through less
right.
intimidating.
It's an expression.
And so, yeah. So.
That's right. Beautiful, Debbie. Yeah, Brooke, and then Lisa.
I was just going to say, thinking of what you had said back there, it's kind of confusing because it feels like people want both. People love seeing the monks and like they're drawn to that, the 6 million views. But also what we hear is that outrage in the media like draws numbers and attention. And even, people want, there's, the thing, people want everybody on social media to share their opinion and have an opinion. So it's confusing because it's like, yes, you feel like you should be doing something that's more outward because everybody expects good people to be outraged publicly about it, but then people are also watching and drawn to this peaceful way of being. So it's like, how do you find that middle? Because it seems like you're being called to both.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, name that rage love and see what happens. Yeah. Oh, Lisa.
So I had recently listened to something this week, because it's been kind of a rough week or whatever, and what I had read is the more you focus on, the more you bring into your life, right? So instead of, so along the lines with Buddhism and being and whatnot, I'm like, okay, how can I be more positive? How can I put out more positive energy to get more positive energy instead of putting out this negativity, right? So I am addicted to 7 Brew. So I go in the morning on the way to work to get 7 Brew. And I love the staff there because they are so positive. They really start your morning out great. Well, I happened to overhear this gal who, because I noticed, I'm like, why are their lights not on yet? 'Cause I get there pretty early, right when they open. And this gal, she was like, she was having a migraine or whatever, the overhead lights. And I was like, oh, I just heard about something. And I'm like, what color eyes do you have? And she had blue. I'm like, well, this is what my eye doctor just told me. It's like, if you have lighter color eyes, this pigment, you're more sensitive to all of that. So it makes complete sense. And so she had a hat or whatever. And we just, again, validating, like whatnot, and kind of was able to flip the script a little bit to get her to have more positive energy instead of feeling low energy.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's right. That's the work. That's the work.
One more?
Susan, yes.
I was kind of struck by the seeing all as equal. And my husband and I were talking the other day about something, you know, horrendous that we witnessed. And he said, I don't know how somebody could do that to another human being. And I said, I just don't think they're seen as equal.
Yeah, that's right.
And what human beings can do when they don't see others as valued or equal is pretty terrifying.
Yep.
And then I want to turn that back towards myself, because I need to be careful how I view those who behave that way, because they too are equal. They are too children of God, and I don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I got to check myself in the midst of that.
Good catch. Beautiful catch. Because our judging of the bad is in fact judging, and and we're creating an us and them in that narrative too. Good catch, Susan. That's beautiful. That's hard work. Yeah.
If there are more questions, you guys,
Yeah.
we'll stay a couple more minutes, but I want to give people an opportunity to go if they need to go. Also, just wanted to throw out there that Ginger is speaking at an event here at Village. I think Alice is going to throw up the slide for us so you can see the details of it.
Good.
So that is coming up as well.
Yeah.
Ginger, did you have any parting words?
Living Buddha, Living Christ by Thich Nhat Hanh. If you want to get one book today, it's a beautiful one. And then The Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu is another great one. This is really the Buddhist teachings on joy.
There's a documentary
Yeah.
with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Also, it is
They're
awesome.
hilarious. They remind us to have joy. Yeah, the event on the 21st, they titled it Motherhood to Matriarch, and I was a little bit like, ooh, why does the word matriarch bother me? But as I've done some research, it is about being that loving, kind leader in your family. And I'm going to give you some advice on how to give adult children advice and not make them feel criticized, and teaser that elephants are a matriarchal herd. So we will talk about all of that stuff on the 21st. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Here,
You can sign up online.
where do we sign up?
It's online.
Go to villagepress.org.
Why don't we link that
Yeah,
in this
yeah, we'll put it in the
Friday
email.
You'll get an email Friday with the video of this class, and it'll be in there.
We'll do it.